Welcome back to another FPL video. Today I'm talking about the best wildcard team for double game week 7. Some of you may be tempted to pull the trigger after a poor start to the season, or you want to get some double game week players from Burnley or Luton Town. I'll get onto that very soon. Maybe you want to target some fixture swings happening, such as Liverpool in game week 9 and Brighton and Hove Albion in game week 10. There's a lot to discuss, of course, and I think this wildcard team could be very helpful, not just if you're going to play the wildcard, but also in terms of transfer plans over the next couple of weeks. If you end up enjoying this video, smash the like button, subscribe for new, and share this video around with those that love FPL and UCL fantasy. There's many more videos and streams to come within the next week. So without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. I will show you in essence 2 wildcard drafts in this video, and I would encourage you to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below about which one is better. But with this draft, I've got Leno and Areola, and I think this is one of the best goalkeeper rotations you will have over the next 5 to 10 game weeks. So just to put it into perspective, with this combination, you can play Areola in game week 7 against Sheffield United at home, and in game week 8, you can play Leno against the same opponent, Sheffield United at home. In game week 9, they both have difficult fixtures, but you'd probably favour Areola and West Ham away to Aston Villa compared to Fulham and Leno facing Tottenham away. In game week 10, you've got Areola facing Everton at home, and the rotation still continues nicely in game weeks 11 and 12. So West Ham play Brentford away in game week 11, and Fulham play Man United at home. So that will be a bit trickier to decide. And in game week 12, you've got Areola at home to Nottingham Forest. But it has to be said, Leno's fixtures over the next 6 game weeks aren't particularly great, but even in these difficult games, he can make a lot of saves and get some bonus points, and he is the highest scoring goalkeeper so far in FPL, and I would expect him to continue to do well, but he is not going to be necessarily a priority, and I'm going to discuss him in the transfer tips video as well. I would only buy Leno if you've also got an Areola to rotate well with him, because otherwise, in terms of fixtures, it doesn't look particularly good. I have gone for these 5 defenders, starting with Kyle Walker at the heart of the Man City defence. He is the captain, and I have to say, this season he's a much better FPL asset compared to recent campaigns, and he's even had some good attacking output for England over the international break, and he translated that in their home win against Nottingham Forest with an assist. So a great start to the season by Kyle Walker. He seems to be very nailed on, and I typically recommend the Kanji or maybe Ruben Dias, but you have to say it's going to be difficult. You will experience rotation with any Man City defender, and my only concern with Kyle Walker is once John Stones is back, you could see Walker getting the odd rest, especially when the fixtures pile up in the Carabao Cup, Champions League, etc. So that will be my major concern, but for the time being, I think Kyle Walker is the best Man City defender, and I'd be very happy to buy him on a wild card or also with free transfers. Now, Man City have a fixture swing in a negative sense from game week 8 onwards, all the way up until game week 14. They face the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, etc. But Man City are still capable of keeping clean sheets in such matches, and they are still the team to beat, and they'll probably win the vast majority of those games as well. I've also gone for the template pick of Purvis Estupiñán. His fixtures over the next 3 are pretty poor, and you could bench him against Aston Villa, Man City and Liverpool. But afterwards, from game week 10 up until game week 16, Brighton have a fantastic run of fixtures, and that's where you'd want to have at least one Brighton player now on your wild card, and then you can make it into 2 or 3 in a few game weeks' time. But Estupiñán is still capable of attacking potential. He conceded against Bournemouth, but still got the assist and a bonus point. So you know how good he is. There's a reason why over 60% of managers own the Ecuadorian, and I have to say he is a very good pick at the heart of the defence. I've also gone for a double up in Newcastle, and I've been talking about Botman in the last transfer tips video. He scored against Sheffield United, and I think that 8-0 victory will cloud things, and now suddenly people will rush towards a double or triple up in their defence. And I still think a double up is best, and I think a triple up is probably a step too far, especially in more difficult fixtures like West Ham away, which is going to happen around game week 8. But I think Botman and Trippier is the best way to cover Newcastle defensively. The alternative, especially if you want to fit Salah into your team, is maybe to have Botman and Dan Burn, or have Botman and Nick Pope in goal, because Trippier is still really expensive, but after getting a hat-trick of assists against Sheffield United, he's going to become such a popular option, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was the most transferred-in player and once again blanked because of that transferred-in curse we've been discussing over the last couple of weeks. And the final defender is Udogie. You'd bench him against Liverpool at home. I don't see Tottenham keeping a clean sheet, and you'd be relying on attacking output by Udogie, but afterwards, facing the likes of Luton Town away and all these great fixtures of Tottenham, that's where Udogie could come into his own and be a fantastic option around this price point. I have gone for variety in the midfield, starting with Bukayo Saka, who's got some very poor fixtures coming up, but Bournemouth away in Game Week 7 is a plum fixture. Then facing Man City and Chelsea away doesn't look great, but then a Sheffield United at home. And I think Saka could do very well in all of these fixtures, even Man City at home. But I have to say, that is the one fixture where you could even take a 1-week punt and go from Saka to Son if you don't have him already, or you could maybe get him out for a run of 3 or 4 games and then bring him back in. But I think Saka is so consistent. He is fixture proof, he can score penalties, and he's also got the attacking potential from open play, goals and assists. So I think Saka is one of the most consistent players you'll find. And in terms of points scored amongst midfielders, I think it'll be Salah first and Saka second by the end of the season, so long as they stay injury free, and hopefully they do. Saka picked up a bit of a problem towards the end of the Tottenham Hotspur game, and there is a potential concern there for an injury, and the injuries are piling up for Arsenal, just like early in the season it has been for Man United and Chelsea. So there are a few problems there. Let's see if Bukayo Saka is fit, but if he is a great pick on the wild card, and of course he's a very template pick for a reason. I've also gone for Mbeumo, who is a really good option at that price and below, but he was very disappointing against Everton, producing a 1-pointer. That was very surprising, of course, but Everton played their game and Brentford weren't able to cope with it, and Mbeumo is still a good choice, but I'm less keen on him now than I was maybe a few weeks ago. As for Diaby, he blanked against Chelsea, but he is still one of the best ways of covering Aston Villa offensively. It's between him and Ollie Watkins, and you could even go for the double up around game week 8 onwards when the fixtures look fantastic over a run of 5 or 6 games. But if I had to pick one, it's still probably Diaby because he's cheaper, and that could possibly allow you to go for Heung-min Son on top of this midfield, and maybe a Mohamed Salah as well. And in the other draft, I'll show you Mohamed Salah there, so don't worry about it. And I've also gone for Bruno Fernandes. He is my pick over Rashford. That was one of the predictions I made in pre-season, and so far it has rung true, but the difference is minimal, I do admit, and ultimately I don't see many points separating the two. But Bruno Fernandes is on penalties, and he's also got more bonus points potential. The amount of chances he creates is actually insane for Manchester United. He's always up there in terms of key passes, so I think he is still a decent pick, and Man United have a great run of fixtures, but I wouldn't double up on their attack, not yet anyway, until I see a vast improvement, because even against Burnley, they had way less possession, and I also think they weren't particularly great on that occasion either. They just managed to get the result and walk away with the 3 points. As for the final midfielder, I think James Maddison is close to being essential. It's not a word I like using very often. I think Haaland is potentially the only essential player in FPL, but Maddison is looking like a fantastic option at that price. Probably the signing of the summer so far, and he got 2 assists against Arsenal. Kind of strangely, he hasn't produced a single attacking return in home matches, but he has returned in every single away game against Brentford, Burnley, Arsenal, etc. And I think he's one of the best players on the road. And when he faces Luton Town away in Game Week 8, he's even a potential captaincy option to consider. And if you've got Heung-min Son as well, you've got a real dilemma on your hands to challenge the Erling Haaland captaincy. So I think this midfield 5 looks very solid, but there are some notable absentees such as Heung-min Son and Mohamed Salah. This might be one of the very few occasions I go for a Burnley or Luton Town player in one of these wildcard drafts, and that's simply to target double game week 7. And the plan would be with this team to move Morris on in game week 8 to an Ollie Watkins or an Alvarez, depending on which striker you're looking to go for. Maybe Callum Wilson if you're willing to play with that rotation between him and Isak. But I think Carlton Morris is a decent option to buy for double game week 7 and double game week 7 alone. 2 plum fixtures against Everton and Burnley. I think he will score in those fixtures. He's on penalties, and to be fair, most of his returns, pretty much all of his returns, have come from penalties, but he is still a decent option at that price point. He was probably my favourite option from the newly promoted clubs in terms of FPL, and so far it's looking good for him, but he's not someone I'd want to have for an extended run, and he is a 5.5 million forward for a reason, but a mega differential, and he could help you to get out of a precarious situation in double game week 7. So I have gone for Carlton Morris, but ultimately you would sell him, and the long-term striker on this wildcard draft would be Ollie Watkins, but you might not be too happy with that double up in Aston Villa offensively, and that's where you could go for a Callum Wilson or Alvarez instead. But in the other wildcard draft, I'll show you a completely different striker compared to Watkins and Morris, but ultimately in this wildcard draft, I'm showing you go for Morris, Haaland and Archer, and then you can bring in an Ollie Watkins or any forward of your choice because you'll have plenty of money in the bank. Erling Haaland speaks for himself. I'm not going to talk about him too much. His ownership is almost 93%. He's breaking new records both on and off the pitch. And we've also got a 4.5 million forward here in Archer, who's going to be bench fodder. And that's pretty much it. You could make a case for going to a forward free and maybe downgrading one of your midfielders, but I don't think it's come to that stage just yet, and I'd be very happy with this team structure. You could also go for 3 forwards and 5 midfielders, but that means you're going to have to bench one of those attackers every single game week, and I'm not a really big fan of those sorts of situations because ultimately there's going to be a lot of bench points and you could be left very frustrated. The lineup would be Areola in goal, and that rotation between West Ham United and Fulham works extremely well over the next 6 game weeks. A back 3 of Walker, Botman, Trippier, a midfield 5 of Saka, Mbeumo, Maddison, Diaby and Bruno Fernandes. The front 2 would be Erling Haaland and Carlton Morris. Let me know, would you captain Carlton Morris in double game week 7 over the likes of Haaland away to Wolves or Saka away to Bournemouth? I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. And the bench would be Leno, Estupiñán, Udogie and Archer. You could make a case for going for another Luton Town player like Kabore in the defence or a Burnley player, but I wouldn't want a wildcard 2 or 3 of these assets in because ultimately you'd want to get rid of them. I know you're targeting double game week 7 and with free transfers over the next few weeks you can get rid of them gradually, but it's not something that's ideal to me, and I don't see Luton Town or Burnley players necessarily getting that many points, with the possible exception of Carlton Morris, who is in this draft. And if I'm just going to show you a few other weeks very quickly, in game week 8, you can make that transfer of Watkins or any other forward in for Carlton Morris, and I've still got 0.5 million left in the bank with that move. You'd also play Leno at home to Sheffield United, a back 3 of Botman, Trippier, Udogie, the same midfield 5, and then Haaland and Watkins up top, and you've got some decent options on the bench like Estupiñán, Walker and Areola. In game week 9 as well, very good team. The only possible issue is the goalkeeper. I don't see Areola or Leno keeping a clean sheet, but they can still get some save points and get you 3 or 4, which is still pretty decent for a goalkeeper. Back 3 of Botman, Trippier, Udogie, midfield 5, the same thing again, and the same front 2. Walker and Estupiñán once again on your bench. And then in game week 10, when the fixtures turn even more, you can go for Estupiñán into your starting lineup from that point onwards until game week 16. You've got Areola in goal at home to Everton, a back 4 this time, and a midfield 4. Maybe you could bench Mbeumo, but you could also make a case for benching Bruno Fernandes, and a front 2 of Haaland and Watkins. And of course, you've got free transfers you can tinker about as we go along. I could see some of you saying, well, what's the point of having Kyle Walker if you're going to bench him on a lot of these occasions? But you could still make a case for starting him because Man City have the best defence and I think they'll keep the most clean sheets this season. But that's one wildcard draft. I'm now going to quickly show you another one which includes Mohamed Salah and has about 4 or 5 key changes. We are back to double game week 7 and this time I've gone for Nick Pope over Bernd Leno. Areola remains in this wildcard draft. I'm also going for a defensive 3 in the starting 11 of Walker, Botman and Saliba. And we've got the likes of Estupiñán and Udogie on the bench. The midfield 5 is a little bit different. I've gone for Salah, Mbeumo, Maddison, Diaby and Mitoma. So to facilitate Salah, I have made some downgrades elsewhere in the midfield. So no Bruno Fernandes, no Bukayo Saka, no Heung-min Son. I know he wasn't in the other draft, but he's not even in this team. And that is one of my major concerns with Salah. He's so consistent, 2 double-digit returns in a row. He's returned in 11 consecutive games, maybe now 12. I've lost count, but you also have to make some sacrifices elsewhere. And once the fixtures turn very badly for Mbeumo and you might want to get rid of him, it's going to be very difficult to get up to the likes of Saka and all these other options at your disposal. I'm also going for a front 2 of Haaland and Alvarez. Despite Man City having some poor fixtures over the next 6-7 game weeks, I still think Alvarez and Haaland can do extremely well. And I'm also going for Areola, Estupiñán, Udogie and Archer on the bench. And then if you look at future game weeks, I haven't properly set everything up, but you could do stuff like this where Maddison's the captain against Luton Town away. You play all 5 midfielders, and in terms of the defensive 3, Botman, Walker and Udogie could be the best defensive line in game week 8. Haaland and Alvarez up front against Arsenal, and you've got a decent bench there once again. And in game week 9, you can play a back 4. So you've got Saliba, Udogie, Walker and Botman, a midfield 4 of Salah, Mbeumo, Maddison, Diaby, and the same front 2. And you'd bench Mitoma and Estupiñán away to Man City, and then bring them into the starting 11 once they face Fulham at home and the fixtures turn for the better. So with these 2 wildcard drafts, you've got one with Salah and one without. But what you do have on both occasions is flexibility. You can sometimes play a 3-5-2 a 4-4-2, and maybe even a 4-3-3 if you fancy it, but I would mainly stick to those sort of formations with these setups. Let me know your thoughts on both wildcard drafts. Are there any players that I haven't mentioned today or that you would definitely include on the wildcard who haven't featured in either of these drafts? I'd be very interested to see and hear your thoughts. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to over 300 likes and let's keep on pushing towards 20,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, and the FPL League. All of that is there. If you become a channel member or patron, you can get early access to my videos, be featured on my channel, and you'll get many more perks, such as exclusive badges and emojis to use in any live stream or video that I make. And by the way, the next aim is 21,000 subscribers, not 20,000. We hit that last week, and it's all thanks to your support. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL fantasy content, and I hope you enjoy the football.